And the men beheld the acts of Joseph, and they were astonished at them. And the men ate and drank, and at that time with Joseph. And he then gave the presents unto them. And Joseph gave one gift unto Benjamin, and Manasseh and Ephraim saw the acts of their father, and they also gave presents unto them. And Manasseh, he gave him one present. And they were all 5 presents in the hand of Benjamin. And Joseph brought them out wine to drink. And they would not drink. And they said, from the day on which Joseph was lost, we have not drank wine, nor eaten any delicacies. And Joseph swore to them. And he pressed them hard, and they drank plentifully with him on that day. And Joseph afterwards turned to his brother Benjamin to speak with him. And Benjamin was still sitting up on the throne before Joseph. And Joseph said unto him, hast thou begotten any children? And he said, thy servant has 10 sons. And these are the names: Bela, Becher, Ashbal, Gera, Naaman, Aki, Losh, Mupim, Shupim, and Ord. Strange names. And I call their names after my brother, whom I have not seen. And he ordered them to bring before him his map of the stars, whereby Joseph knew all the times. And Joseph said unto Benjamin, I have heard that the Hebrews are acquainted with all wisdom. Dost thou know anything of this? And Benjamin said, thy servant is knowing also in all the wisdom which my father taught me. And Joseph said unto Benjamin, look now at this instrument, and understand where thy brother Joseph is in Egypt, who you can say went down to Egypt. And Benjamin beheld that instrument which with the map of the stars of heaven, and he was wise, and he looked therein to know where his brother was. And Benjamin divided the whole land of Egypt into 4 divisions. And he found that he was sitting up on the throne. Before him was his brother Joseph. And Benjamin wondered greatly. And Joseph saw that his brother Benjamin was so much astonished, he said unto Benjamin, what hast thou seen? And why art thou astonished? And Benjamin said unto Joseph, I can see by this that Joseph, my brother, sitteth here with me upon the throne. And Joseph said unto him, I am Joseph thy brother. Reveal not this thing unto thy brethren. Behold, I will send thee with them when they go away, and I will command them to be brought back again unto the city, and I will take thee away from them. And if they dare their lies and fight for thee, then I will know that they have repented of what they did unto me, and I will make myself known to them. And if they forsake thee, then I will take thee. Thou shalt remain with me, and I will wrangle with them, and they shall go away, and I will not become known to them. In that time Joseph commanded his officer to fill their sacks with food, and to put each man's money into his sack, and put the cup in the sack of Benjamin, and to give them provision for that road. And they did so unto them. And the next day the men rose up early in the morning, and they loaded their asses with their corn, and they went forth unto Benjamin, and they went out into the land of Canaan with their brother Benjamin. They had not gone far from Egypt, and Joseph commanded him that was set over his house, saying, Rise, pursue these men before they get too far from Egypt. And say unto them, Why have you stolen my master's cup? And Joseph's officer rose up, and he reached him, and he spoke unto them all the words of Joseph. And they heard this thing, and they became exceedingly wroth. And he said, He with whom thy master's cup shall be found shall die, and we will also become slaves. And they hastened, and each man brought down his sack from his ass, and they looked in their bags, and the cup was found in Benjamin's bag. Joseph, this is the big payback here. He's saying that if they'll fight for their brother, I know they repented for what they did on me, but they just let Benjamin go. They won't know who I am, and they won't see Benjamin. Because he said they might kill him too, is what he's thinking, back his money. And they all tore their garments. And tearing your garments is a sign of repentance, by the way. And they returned to the city, and they smote Benjamin. And they returned to the city, and they smote Benjamin in the road, continually smiting him, until he came into the city, and they stood before Joseph. And Judah's anger was kindled, and he said, This man has only brought me back to destroy Egypt this day. And the men came to Joseph's house, and they found Joseph sitting upon his throne, and all the mighty men standing at his right and left. And Joseph said unto them, What is this act that you have done, that ye have took away my silver cup, and went away? But I know that you not took my cup in order to know thereby what part of the land your brother was. And Judah said, What shall we say to our Lord? What shall we speak? And how shall we justify ourselves? God has this day found this iniquity of all his servants. Therefore has he done this thing to us this day. He said, we're being punished for enslaving Joseph. And Joseph rose up and caught hold of Benjamin, and took him from his brethren with violence. And he came to the house, and locked the door at them. And Joseph commanded him that was set over his house, that he should say unto them, Thus saith the king, Go in peace to your father. Behold, I have taken a man in whose hand my cup was found. And when Judah saw the dealings of Joseph with him, Judah approached him, and broke open the door, and came with his brethren before Joseph. And Judah said unto Joseph, Let it not seem grievous in thy sight of my Lord. May thy servants, I pray thee, speak a word before thee. And Joseph said unto them, Speak. And Judah spoke before Joseph, and his brethren were there standing before them. And Judah said unto Joseph, Surely, when he first came to our Lord to buy food, thou didst not consider us as spies of the land. And we brought Benjamin before thee, and thou still makest sport of us this day. Now therefore let the king hear my words, and send, I pray thee, our brother, that he may go along with us to our father, lest thy soul perish this day with all the souls of the inhabitants of Egypt. He's saying we're going to wipe out the whole Egypt. And that's what Joseph wanted to hear, that they would fight and defend their brother. Dost thou not know that two of my brethren, Simeon and Levi, did unto the city of Shechem and unto the 7 cities of the Amorites on account of our sister Dinah, and also what they would do for the sake of their brother Benjamin? And I, with my strength, who am greater and mightier than both of them, come this day upon thee in thy land, if thou art unwilling to send our brother. Hast thou not heard that our God, who made choice of us, did unto Pharaoh on account of Sarah and our mother, whom he took away from our father, that he smote him and his household with heavy plagues, that even until this day the Egyptians relate this wonder to each other? So our God will do unto thee on account of Benjamin, whom thou hast this day taken from his father on account of the evils which thou hast this day heaped over us in thy land. For our God will remember his covenant with his father Abraham, and bring evil upon thee, because thou hast grieved the soul of his father this day. Now therefore hear my words that I have said this day and spoken unto thee. And send our brother, that he may go away, lest thou and thy people of thy land die by the sword, for you cannot all prevail over me. And Joseph answered Judah, saying, why hast thou opened wide thy mouth, and why hast thou boasted over us, saying, strength is with thee? As Pharaoh liveth, if I command all my valiant men to fight with you, surely thou and these brethren will sink in the mud. And Judah said unto Joseph, surely it becometh thee and thy people to hear me, as the Lord God liveth. If thou once draw my sword, I will not sheathe it again, until I shall this day have slain all Egypt, and will commence with thee and finish with the Pharaoh thy master. Save you two for last. Save you two kings for last. Kill everybody in the kingdom. Save you two for last. And Joseph answered and said unto him, surely strength belongeth not alone to thee. I am stronger and mightier than thou. Surely if thou drawest thy sword, I will put it to thy neck, and the neck of all thy brethren. And Judah said unto him, surely if I this day open my mouth against thee, I would swallow thee up, and thou wilt be destroyed from off the earth, and perish this day from thy kingdom. And Joseph said, surely if thou openest thy mouth, I have power and might to close thy mouth with a stone, until thou cannot be able to utter a word. See how many stones are before us? Truly, I can take a stone and force it into thy mouth and break thy jaw. It's just having what we call a male pissing contest right now between the king and Judah. And Judah said, God is my witness between us, that we have not hitherto desired to battle with thee. Only give us our brother, and we will go from thee. And Joseph answered and said, As Pharaoh liveth, if all the kings of Canaan came together with you, you would not take him from our hand. He said, you can have an alliance of all the kings of Canaan and we'll still fight for our brother. Now therefore go your way to our father, and your brother shall be unto me for a slave, for he has robbed the king's house. And Judah said, What is it to thee, or to thy character of the king? Surely the king sendeth forth from his house throughout the land silver and gold, either in gifts or expenses. And thou still talkest about thy cup, which thou didst place in our brother's bag, and sayest that it was stolen from thee. God forbid that our brother Benjamin or any of the seed of Abraham should do this thing to steal from thee or from anyone else, whether king, prince, or any man. Now therefore cease this accusation, lest the whole earth hear thy words, saying, For a little silver the king of Egypt wrangled with the men, and accused them, and took their brother for a slave. And Joseph answered and said, Take unto you this cup, and go from me, and leave your brother for a slave, for it is judgment of a thief to be a slave. And Judah said, Why art thou not ashamed of thy words to leave our brother and to take thy cup? Surely, if thou givest us thy cup, or 1,000 times as much, we will not leave our brother. For the silver which is found in the land, for the silver which is found in the hand of any man, that we will not die over him. But they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. That's why he's getting on the money. And Joseph answered, And why did you forsake your brother and sell him for 20 pieces of silver, see, unto this day? And then will you not do the same to your brother? He said, you sold me. You ain't selling me, but you sold your brother Joseph. Why don't you sell me? And Judah said, The Lord is a witness between me and thee, that we desire not thy battles. Now therefore give us our brother, and we will go from thee without quarrel. And Joseph answered and said, If the kings of the land should assemble them, and will not be able to take you, your brother, from my hand. And Judah said, What shall we say unto our father when he seeth that our brother cometh not with us, and will grieve him, and will grieve over him? And Joseph answered and said, This is the thing which you shall tell your father, saying, This rope has gone after the bucket. It's a good proverb. This rope has gone after the bucket. And Judah said, Surely thou art a king. And why speakest thou these things, giving a false judgment? Woe unto the king who is like unto thee. And Joseph answered and said, There is no false judgment in the word that I spake on account of your brother Joseph. For all of you sold him to the Midianites for 20 pieces of silver, and you all denied it. You all denied it to your father, and said unto him, An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces. And Judah said, Behold, the fire of Shem burneth in my heart. Now I will burn your land with fire. And Joseph answered and said, Sure, thy sister-in-law Tamar, who killed your sons, extinguished the fire of Shechem. And Judah said, If I pluck out a single hair of my flesh I will fill it with Egypt, with all its blood. And Joseph answered and said, such is your custom, to do as you did to your brother, whom you sold, and you dipped his coat in blood, and brought it to your father, in order that he might say, an evil beast devoured him, and here is his blood. And when Judah heard the thing, he was exceedingly wroth, and his anger burned with him. And there was before him in that place a stone, the weight of which was about 400 shekels. And Judah's anger was kindled, and he took the stone in one hand and cast it to the heavens and caught it with his left hand. So he caught a stone weighing, I say about 40 shekels, maybe 100 and something pounds, give or take. He threw the stone up in the air and caught it with one hand. And he placed it afterward under his legs, and he sat upon it with all his strength, and the stone was turned to dust with the force of Judah. He butt crushed the stone. But be nice. And Joseph saw the act of Judah, and he was very much afraid. But he commanded Manasseh his son, and he also did with another stone like unto the act of Judah. And Judah said unto his brethren, let not any of you say, this man is an Egyptian, but by his doing this thing, he is of our father's family. And Joseph said, not to you only is strength given, for we are also powerful men. And why would you boast over us all? He said, why would you brag that you can whoop us all? And Judah said unto Joseph, send, I pray thee, our brother, and ruin not the country this day. And Joseph answered and said unto him, go and tell your father, an evil beast hath devoured him, as you said concerning your brother Joseph. And Judah spake to his brethren Naphtali, and he said unto them, make haste, go and number all the streets of Egypt, and come and tell me. And Simeon said unto him, let not this thing be trouble to thee. Now I will go to the mount, and take up one large stone from the mount, and level it at every one in Egypt, and kill all that are in it. And Joseph heard all these words with his brethren spake before him. And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for they imagined that he knew not to speak Hebrew. They spoke in Hebrew, and Joseph understood everything they said. And Joseph was greatly afraid at the words of his brethren, lest they should destroy Egypt. And he commanded his son Manasseh, saying, go now, make haste, and gather unto me all the inhabitants of Egypt, and all the valiant men together, and let them come to me now, upon horseback, and on foot, and with all sort of musical instruments. And Manasseh went, and did so. And Naphtali went as Judah had commanded, for Naphtali was light-footed as one of the swift stags, and he would go up on the ears of corn. I know that's hard for us to believe, that he can run up on the ears of corn. And he would go up on the ears of corn, and they would not break under him. And he went and numbered all the streets of Egypt, and found them to be 12. And he came hastily and told Judah. And Judah said unto the brethren, hasten you, put on every man his sword, upon his loins, and we will come over Egypt and smite them all, and let not a remnant remain. And Judah said, Behold, I will destroy 3 of the streets with my strength, and you shall each destroy 1 street. And when Judah was speaking this thing, behold, the inhabitants of Egypt and all the mighty men came toward him with all sorts of musical instruments and with loud shouting. And their number was 500 cavalry, and 10,000 infantry, and 400 men, who could fight without sword or spear, only with their hands and strength. So Joseph went and got his army. And the mighty men came with great storming and shouting, and they all surrounded the sons of Jacob and terrified them. And the ground quaked at the sound of their shouting. And when the sons of Jacob saw these troops, they were greatly afraid of their lives. And Joseph did so in order to terrify the sons of Jacob to become tranquilized. He want them calm. And Judah, seeing some of his brethren terrified, said unto them, Why are you afraid, whilst the grace of God is with us? And when Judah saw all the people of Egypt surrounding them at the command of Joseph to terrify them, only Joseph commanded them, saying, Do not touch any of them. Then Judah hastened and drew his sword and uttered a loud, bitter scream. And he smote with his sword, and he sprang up on the ground, and he continued to shout against all the people. And when he did this thing, the Lord caused the terror of Judah and his brethren to fall upon the valiant men and all the people that surrounded them. And they all fled at the sound of the shouting, and they were terrified and fell upon one another, and many of them died as they fell. They all fled from before Judah and his brethren and before Joseph. And while they were fleeing, Judah with his brethren pursued them unto the house of Pharaoh, and they all escaped. And Judah again sat before Joseph and roared at him like a lion, and gave a great and tremendous shriek at him. And the shriek was heard at a distance, and all the inhabitants of the circuit heard it, and all Egypt quaked at the sound of the shriek. I guess he got some powers. And the walls of Egypt and all the land of Goshen fell in from the shaking of the earth. This shrieking caused an earthquake, and walls fell down. That's power, my friend. And Pharaoh also fell from his throne up on the ground, and also all the pregnant women of Egypt and Goshen miscarried. Well, God had a thing with them with slaughtering babies anyway. Miscarried when they heard the noise of the shaking, for they were terribly afraid. And Pharaoh sent word, saying, What is this thing that this day has happened in the land of Egypt? And they came and told him all the things from the beginning to the end. And Pharaoh was alarmed, and he wondered and was greatly afraid. And his fright increased when he heard all these things. And he sent unto Joseph, saying, Thou hast brought unto me the Hebrews to destroy all Egypt. What wilt thou do with the thievish slave? Send him away, and let him go with his brethren, and let us not perish through their evil, even we, you, and all Egypt. And if thou desirest not to do this thing, cast off from thee all the valuable things, and go with them to their land, if thou delightest in it. For they will this day destroy my whole country, and slay all my people. Even all the women of Egypt have miscarried through their screams. See what they have done. merely by shouting and speaking. Moreover, if they fight with the sword, they will destroy the land. Now therefore choose that which thou desirest, whether me or the Hebrews, whether Egypt or the land of the Hebrews. So you better pick a side, Joseph. And they came and told Joseph all the words of Pharaoh that he said concerning him. And Joseph was greatly afraid at the words of Pharaoh, and Judah and his brethren were still standing before Joseph, indignant and enraged. And all the sons of Jacob roared at Joseph like the roaring of the sea and its waves. I mean, you try to picture this. They are roaring like lions. Like, you ever heard the roar of lions? That's what they sound. That is terrifying, I guess. And Joseph was greatly afraid of his brethren, and on account of Pharaoh. And Joseph sought a pretext to make himself known unto his brethren, lest they should destroy all Egypt. And Joseph commanded his son Manasseh. And Manasseh went and approached Judah, and placed his hand upon his shoulder. And the anger of Judah was stilled. And Judah said unto his brethren, let no one of you say that this is the act of an Egyptian youth, for this is the work of my father's house. And Joseph, seeing and knowing that Judah's anger was stilled, he approached to speak unto Judah in the language of mildness. And Joseph said unto Judah, surely you speak truth, and have this day verified your assertions concerning your strength, and may your God, who delighteth in you, increase your welfare. But tell me truly, why from amongst all the brethren dost thou wrangle with me on account of the lad, as none of them hath spoken one word to me concerning him? And Judah answered Joseph, saying, surely thou mightest know that our security for the lad